Imagine waking up in the dead of night. The house is completely silent, your kids are fast asleep down the hall. Suddenly, a heavy hand clamps over your mouth and a voice whispers in the dark. But the intruder isn't a stranger off the street. It's the man you invited to live in your own backyard. Meet Stephanie. She is a 36-year-old mother of two, 16-year-old Luke and 12-year-old Avery. Stephanie's life has recently been shattered. Her husband of 15 years, Christopher, a successful doctor, completely blindsided her by cheating with his young blonde practice manager, Vanessa. He packed his bags and left, leaving Stephanie to pick up the pieces. During the brutal divorce mediation, Stephanie fought for and kept their massive, beautiful Art Deco home so her kids wouldn't have to change their entire lives. But there's a catch. Keeping the house means Stephanie is totally broke. She's studying to become a high school history teacher and working part-time at a daycare, constantly refreshing her banking app just to see if she has enough to buy groceries. Every single month, she has to beg Christopher for child support. The financial stress is suffocating. Enter Gail, Stephanie's best friend and a high-powered lawyer. Gail comes over with a seemingly perfect solution to Stephanie's money problems. She suggests Stephanie rent out the unused granny flat, a small, self-contained shed-like house at the bottom of her garden. Gail says a partner at her firm knows a family who just lost their entire home and all their belongings in the devastating Blue Mountains wildfires. They are desperate for a place to stay, and Stephanie can charge them a few $100s a week. It's easy money, and she'd be doing a good deed for a family in need. Stephanie cleans up the flat and welcomes the Kemp family. There's Jason, a ruggedly handsome builder, his wife, Cecelia, who has a sharp, slightly odd sense of humor, and Cecilia's 15-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, Polly, who sports blue streaks in her hair and a massive attitude problem. Almost immediately, the perfectly nice family vibe shatters. The very first night, Stephanie's son, Luke, wakes her up. They look out the second-floor window into the garden, illuminated by a sensor light, and witness something shocking. Polly and Cecelia are having a screaming match, which ends with the 15-year-old slapping her mother right across the face. The hostility is chilling. And that's just the beginning. The Kemps are constantly in Stephanie's space, but what's worse is that Stephanie's beloved house suddenly starts falling apart. First, her dishwasher completely floods the kitchen floor. Jason conveniently shows up in the middle of the night to help her mop it up, acting like a savior. Then a massive plumbing disaster hits. Raw sewage backs up into the laundry room because someone flushed a thick face cloth down the toilet. A face cloth Polly had access to when she was hanging out with Luke. The plumber hands Stephanie a bill for thousands of dollars, telling her the old clay pipes need replacing. Soon after, Jason points out wood rot on her second-story window frames, claiming her house is basically disintegrating. The psychological toll is breaking Stephanie. To make matters worse, Jason is getting uncomfortably close to Stephanie's 12-year-old daughter, Avery. Avery is struggling. She feels neglected since the divorce, is bombing her math tests, and feels like nobody cares. One afternoon, when Stephanie is stuck at a job interview, Jason offers to drive Avery to her gymnastics class in his truck. During the ride, he looks Avery up and down and tells her, "You kids grow up really quickly these days. 12 years old is light years away from what 12 years old was like when I was a kid." Avery blushes, feeling a confusing mix of fear and validation. Then the ultimate betrayal hits. Stephanie is on the phone with her best friend Gail, venting about the nightmarish tenants. Gail accidentally lets slip a massive secret. Gail wasn't the one who found the Kemp family. Christopher was the one who reached out and arranged for the Kemps to move into Stephanie's yard. Stephanie's blood runs cold. Christopher, the man who just told her his mistress is pregnant and that he wants to buy the house from Stephanie so they can live there. Stephanie realizes this is a coordinated attack. Christopher sent these grifters to destroy her property and drive her so crazy that she would be forced to sell him the house. Furious, Stephanie marches out to the yard and confronts Jason. She lies, saying her nephew is moving in, and demands the Kemps pack up and leave immediately. Jason begs her to let them stay, visibly panicking, but Stephanie stands her ground. That night, the tension snaps. Stephanie falls asleep, only to be jolted awake by the feeling of someone in her room. A heavy hand presses down on her mouth and nose, cutting off her air. It's Jason. He reeks of musky aftershave. He pins her down, his voice trembling with desperation. demanding she let them stay a few more days. Stephanie is terrified he's going to kill her, but she manages to agree just to get him out of the room. The second he leaves, she calls the police. But when the cops arrive, the nightmare only gets worse. Jason answers his door shirtless, looking sleepy, and flat out denies everything. His wife, Cecelia, and stepdaughter, Polly, back him up, claiming he never left the flat. The police look at Stephanie, exhausted, smelling like the wine she drank earlier, and dismiss her as a hysterical, paranoid ex-wife. They leave Jason right there in the backyard. The next day, everything spirals out of control. Avery has a massive gymnastics showcase at school. She's been practicing for weeks, desperate for her parents' validation. But Stephanie, sleep-deprived and traumatized from the break-in, accidentally falls asleep in her car. Christopher gets busy with patients. Luke forgets. Nobody shows up. Avery bombs her routine, humiliated in front of the whole school. She takes the bus home alone, burning with absolute rage at her family. When she gets to her street, Jason is waiting by his truck. He plays into her anger, validating her feelings. Then he drops the bait. He tells Avery he's picking up a surprise puppy for Polly to cheer her up and asks if Avery wants to come. He convinces her to leave her phone at home so her mom will worry a bit as payback. Vulnerable and angry, Avery climbs into his truck. Jason doesn't take Avery to get a puppy. He drives her far out of the suburbs to a desolate, run-down place called the Bluebird Motel. He unlocks room 33 and forces her inside. The room smells like cheap lemon disinfectant. Jason locks the door behind them. He sits next to her on the bed and places his hot, heavy hand high up on her thigh. He leans in and whispers, "You wanted this, Avery. You've been flirting with me for weeks." Avery is paralyzed with terror, but her survival instincts kick in. She tells him she's sick to her stomach and needs the bathroom. Jason gives her 2 minutes. Inside the tiny bathroom, Avery spots a narrow window above the tub. It's high up, but Avery is a gymnast. Treating the windowsill like a parallel bar, she leaps, catches the ledge, and hauls her body through the glass just as Jason bursts through the door. He grabs her ankle, but she kicks him in the face and plummets to the concrete alleyway below, severely injuring her ankle. Avery hobbles through the alley, crying in agony, hearing Jason's footsteps closing in behind her. Just as he's about to grab her, she crashes directly into a massive, bald, heavily tattooed man. Jason tries to play it cool, smiling and saying, "My daughter and I had a little disagreement over screen time." But Avery looks at the tattooed man's hands. The word hope is inked across his knuckles. She screams at the top of her lungs, "He's not my father. He's a disgusting, perverted pedophile." The tattooed man, whose name is Will, steps between them. He pulls out his phone and dials the police. Jason's mask drops. He spits a curse and sprints away into the night. Back at the house, Stephanie is losing her mind. She discovered Avery's phone left behind and the house empty. She dials 911. Christopher rushes over, followed closely by his mistress, Vanessa. Then, Cecelia drops a bombshell that shatters the entire room. Cecelia points right at Vanessa and says, "Hello, sister." The room goes dead silent. Cecelia and Vanessa are half-sisters. Vanessa wasn't just a random practice manager who fell in love with Christopher. She was a calculated social climber who targeted him for his money. But because Christopher gave the house to Stephanie in the divorce, Vanessa didn't get the luxurious suburban life she wanted. So Vanessa secretly hired her estranged grifter sister, Cecelia, Cecelia's boyfriend Jason, and their younger sister Polly to act as the wildfire victims. They weren't a perfectly nice family. They were con artists hired to sabotage Stephanie's house and terrorize her into selling. Christopher looks like he's going to be sick. He had absolutely no idea. He didn't text Gail. Vanessa stole his phone, texted Gail to set up the rental, and deleted the messages. Vanessa wasn't even pregnant. It was all a manipulation to force the house sale. But Vanessa's twisted plan backfired horribly because she didn't realize that Jason, the man her sister brought along, was a dangerous predator who would target a 12-year-old girl. A police cruiser pulls into the driveway. The doors open and Avery limps out. Stephanie collapses into her daughter, sobbing uncontrollably. The nightmare is finally over. In the aftermath, Vanessa's grand plan crumbles. Christopher is utterly disgusted and leaves her, though she escapes jail time because she technically didn't commit a direct crime. Cecelia is also let go, but Jason is a wanted fugitive on the run. However, Cecelia isn't completely heartless. Guilt-ridden over what Jason tried to do to Avery, she takes a minimum-wage job sweeping floors at the local airport. She watches the crowds every single day. until one afternoon she spots him. Jason is casually walking toward a gate with a backpack, holding the hand of another young, unsuspecting girl. Cecelia immediately alerts airport security and the police. As the cops swarm Jason and slap the cuffs on him, he locks eyes with Cecelia. She just smiles and winks at him. Stephanie finally gets her piece. She sells the massive cursed house and moves her kids into a smaller, modern, perfectly normal home. She cuts ties with her toxic friend Gail, keeps strong boundaries with a deeply humbled Christopher, and finally starts her new life. So, what would you do in Stephanie's shoes? If your best friend came to you with a tear-jerking story about a family who lost everything, would you let them move into your backyard? And how well do you really know the people you let into your life? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more crazy thrillers.